It's the Blood Red podcast, courtesy of the Liverpool Echo. I'm Guy Clarke. Welcome along. Liverpool limbering up for the run-in as the quadruple dream kept on course. Here to discuss the win at Forest, the trophy tussle, with City, and much more. Besides, we have our very own Quad 1 already in the bag. The Champions League of the operation, our Liverpool correspondent, Paul Gorst. The historic and prestigious FA Cup, also celebrating his 150th birthday this year, our chief Ian Doyle, and the one demanding week in, week out through those dark winter nights, our own Premier League, the face that runs the place, Joe Rimmer. Joe, I know you wanted to be the Carabao Cup, but you're the boss.
I like the Carabao Cup better. But you got me all wrong. I love the FA Cup. I love it in 180 minutes time when Liverpool are lifting it. But until then, I'll carry on being cynical about it.
Looking forward to your big birthday this year, Doyley?
Beg your pardon?
I said the 150th birthday this year, like the FA Cup.
It's gone. It's happened. Stop living in the past.
Okay.
Of which I've had more of than any of you. So, respect.
I know you won't tell us.
Respect your elders is what I'd say.
I know you won't tell us, Doyley, but Sean and I were trying to place how old you are. Sean went for 46. I'm going for 44.
See, this is why Sean is a better human being than you, because he's correct.
It's not. I was trying to be nice, but there you go. That's what I get for being nice.
Fair play. And Gorst, it won't be long till you have your own anthem, I suppose, accompanying you wherever you go. At Forest yesterday, I mean, in the end, the Reds had to make harder work of it than probably what most of us were predicting. What were your thoughts?
I can't wait for my own little entrance team, to be honest, wherever that's going to come from. It was you could see why Forest have already beaten Arsenal and Leicester en route to the quarterfinal. Nothing particularly, out of the ordinary for the Championship team that they're kind of sitting in the middle of the table in ninth, aren't they? But certainly when that crowd get behind them at the City ground, they can put on a little bit of a fight. And I thought, in fairness to Liverpool, they're not really a cliche of a team where you can get at the soft underbelly and you can beat them if you match them and you fight with them and you work them. I think Liverpool work just as hard as any other team, and normally the quality takes over. And they weren't anywhere near the best yesterday. I thought quite a few were a little bit off the pace, including the match winner as it went, Jota. But he's just got that knack of scoring big goals, particularly away from Anfield, hasn't he? With two just last week alone, at Arsenal and Forest, the one that gets Liverpool rolling at the Emirates, and then the all-important winner yesterday. But I think teams from the lower leagues, when they come up in these type of games, they do try and, put it up them, as they say. But Liverpool never really, fall for that, and they haven't done for quite a while. Certainly not, while Klopp's had this team for the last 3 years or so. So Liverpool stood up to the task, and ultimately the quality shone through.
Yeah, definitely. Doyley, I don't know how much of the game you saw in the end off the picture you put on Twitter early doors, but what did you make of it in the end?
Did they win?
Yeah.
That was an interesting one. Yeah, yesterday. Without wishing to go down, look at us, woe is me and Paul, but we got sent. Sat-nav attempted to take us through some fields. They then tried to direct us to a car park that didn't exist. And then when we tried to get in the ground, we had to walk around twice around the ground. We couldn't find the way in. And we got in the Wi-Fi and the phones wouldn't work until about 10 or 15 minutes into the ground, which as a journalist, that's not ideal, especially when you're working for a website. So not the best.
Coup de grace was the KFC.
Oh, sorry?
The coup de grace was the KFC. Did man out of chicken?
Oh yeah, that was the massive blow afterwards. Yeah. What was going on there? At least there was one open though, to be fair. So it wasn't all bad. But the game itself, I think hard to disagree with what Gorsty said there. I think some Liverpool players didn't play particularly well. I thought some of them did. I thought the two centre backs were good, and Joe Gomez had a good game as well. I thought Naby Keita was a bit unlucky to be subbed because I thought he'd done quite well. But I think when you can make 5 subs, and that's an area of the team that you look at it. It's weird actually because they changed to 4-4-2, didn't they? Which is something we don't really see all that much from Liverpool, and it got them the goal. But what then it did mean is that when Forest then went hell for leather in the last 15 minutes, it meant that they were a little bit, I wouldn't say exposed, but it did mean that the defence had a bit more to do than perhaps it otherwise normally would do because of the formation, and that's what made it what I would call a proper old style FA Cup tie. It was there weren't a lot of goals. Well, it was only the one goal. There was certainly a lot of goal mouth action. There was Forest would say there's a bit of controversy about the VAR decision, although straight lines, we've done this a billion times over, haven't we? And then the penalty, which, to be honest, at the time we all thought, oh dear, that looks like a penalty. And then when you saw it, it quite clearly wasn't a penalty. So, we've been slaughtering referees, but we're having a go at them for making strange decisions. But even the Forest people that I spoke to are like, well, yeah, that was clearly onside and that was clearly not a penalty. So the officials got it right, and they got it right first time as well, you have to say. So in that respect, it was down to those 2 minutes, wasn't it? Where I forgot his name, was it Zinkernagel?
Yeah, Forest hit right in the Zinkernagels, weren't they?
Yeah, he should have scored, shouldn't he? Should have at least hit the target. And that was at a time when Liverpool I'm sure they just started to create one or two chances, and Forest didn't look like they were going to really be going anywhere. But 2 minutes later, Jota, who was Gorst, he said wasn't very good during the game. He works really hard, and the reason possibly why they left him on the pitch is because he's capable of doing something like that. But the cross was put in by Tsimikas, and he's another one who didn't have a good game. But if you're seeing him put a right wing cross in and someone's getting on the end of it, then it's probably going to be your day.
Yeah, definitely. Joe, in terms of Diogo Jota, I mean, on the Blood Red channel after the game, when we put Jurgen Klopp's reaction up, there a few comments in there kind of talking about how he can often flatter to the sea, doesn't look that great, but you see his name on the score sheet. And crucially this season as well, as Gorsty reference, getting the first goal in games as well. I mean, it's a quality Mohamed Salah has as well, though, isn't it? Sometimes not always looking too great on the eye, but he gets the goals and that's all that counts.
It's what good goal scorers do, isn't it? I mean, I'm going to rob this stat off another writer, but apparently this season he scored more winning goals than Luis Suarez did in 2013-14. So, he clearly makes a difference. And, I don't mind if he plays badly and scores goals like that, winners, and gets Liverpool through. And they're going to need players like that to emerge in the next 2 to 3 months if they want to chase down this quadruple. So, I look at a game like yesterday, I don't worry too much. I think you go away, don't you, in the FA Cup to teams like Forest in the league below, and I know we shouldn't, but you read social media and you see what people say, and they get so wound up that Liverpool haven't put 5 past these teams and aren't done within the first 30 minutes. And it never really works like that. They work hard, they drag you down to a certain level. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but they make it a bit of a scrap, and good teams like Liverpool manage to stay solid and find a way through, and good players like Jota are the difference, aren't they? So I keep thinking this season, and look, Liverpool are in a slightly better position in terms of the competition they're chasing, but I keep looking back at the treble season in 2000-2001, and along the way there was a lot of luck, wasn't there? There were scrappy wins, there were controversial decisions in Europe that got Liverpool through in games, and you need that. You need the luck. So yeah, I think Liverpool have got a squad full of players there that make the difference. Jota's one of them, and they rise to the fore, don't they, in certain games like this. So I thought it was a really pleasing win. Liverpool should be happy they got through. It was a scrap, and I'm sure they'll play far better when they play City in the semi.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have grown when I again mentioned the word quadruple. But Gorsty, it proves as to why it's being spoken about that the quadruple could well be on for Liverpool this season, because even when they're not playing well, they find a way to get themselves through games.
Well, there is that, yeah. It's a very good quality that Liverpool have. But also I think that the squad that they've got, made 7 changes yesterday, and you've still got the likes of Canate coming into the team, Naby Keita and Jota and Firmino, and Jota started Arsenal, didn't he? But it's just a really kind of well-built squad to be able to handle these kind of assignments. And you're looking at it and you're thinking, you're trying to make sure you don't overexert the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold and Mo Salah and Sadio Mane. Centre-back's probably a little bit different, particularly with Van Dijk, with the way he plays the game. He very rarely is troubled and doesn't do a whole lot of sprinting, does he, to be fair? Just kind of in the right place at the right time. But I think it'll be about using the right team selections at the right time. So players who might be a little bit frustrated that they're not getting too much of a look in, like a Joe Gomez, possibly a Curtis Jones, even maybe Harvey Elliott to an extent, even though, I'm sure he's fully aware that he's just on the beginning of his football career. But I don't think there'll be too much grumbling or rocking the boat. I think this squad will know that they could be part of something really special in the next 6 to 8 weeks. And if it's all just, all hands on deck and do what's asked of you and play when you're selected and do what you can. And I think that could ultimately be why Liverpool are able to do this, just because of the amount of good players that they've got. They've got so few injuries. The injuries that they're picking up or the issues that they're picking up just seem to be relatively manageable at the moment. With, Milner was out yesterday with COVID. I think he's going to be back for Watford, and Andy Robertson should be over his bout by then. And by all accounts, Trent Alexander-Arnold's doing well as well. So maybe it's just a little bit of a perfect storm gathering for Liverpool at the right time as they head into April to the side of the international break in. It's going to be an incredible 4 weeks of football that will make or break it, I think.
Yeah, 8 games to come in April, Doyle, and people joining us whilst we're recording today on YouTube and Facebook saying Liverpool need to shut down all talk of the quadruple and just focus game by game. But that run of 8 games to come next month, I mean, obviously kicks off with Watford, City, of course, in the Premier League, the 2 games with Benfica, with the FA Cup semi-final between, and then small matters of Merseyside derbies and a derby with Manchester United to come as well. I mean, it couldn't really be a bigger month, could it? Certainly at the stage in the season it comes to.
I can't really comment on that because we can't talk about the quadruple. Sorry. How many games did you say? It could be 9, 8. Couldn't it? If they get through.
It's 9 in April because Newcastle is on the 30th of April.
Ah, right, okay. I miscounted.
I think if they get through the Benfica game, it could be another one as well because it'd be the first leg of the semi-final, which is still a big if. Still a big if. I mean, I'm not sure what you mentioned about the Champions League draw last week, but Liverpool lost the last 3 times they went to Benfica, so there is that. I don't think anyone's going to be taking anything for granted. And Liverpool, that's the way Liverpool have been all the way through the season, no matter who they played, whether it's been Shrewsbury, Cardiff, in the FA Cup, or Nottingham Forest, or it's been Inter Milan at home when they're already 2-0 up. They never took anything for granted. And what happened against Inter Milan kind of underlines why they can't do that. So, yeah, it is going to be a busy month, but how is that different to March, February, January, December, November, October? I mean, it's just been that way all the way through. It's been that way all the way through the season.
The stakes are only getting bigger, aren't they? And the opposition tougher.
You're right, but I think certainly with to be honest, I don't actually, not entirely sure whether I agree with that entirely, purely because if ever you play a cup game, I know obviously the longer you get into a cup competition, the more difficult the opposition becomes, and it's not going to get any harder than Man City, is it, in the FA Cup, for example? But still, you've got to be like that on the day. Look at the game yesterday with Forest. As Joe said, and I don't understand when people come out and say, "Oh, wow, can Liverpool aren't winning 4-0 after 20 minutes?" It's like, do these people not understand the concept of football or cup football or the way things have always been in that competition? Forget Liverpool; it's been the same way with everybody else. Sure, there'll be some times where somebody wins 4-0 away, 5-0 away, but far more often is that it's a massive scrap for teams, certainly when you're playing against a championship side away from home, and that's just the way it's always been. But look at the league. Every single game has been like a cup final all the way through the season. Every time Liverpool have dropped a point, it's been like, oh no, that's terrible, Man City are doing this, because those are the standards that have been set over the last few years. So in a way, Liverpool and Manchester City are completely accustomed to the fact that every single game is a massive game. And it was interesting. Jurgen Klopp spoke. He mentioned after the game, he was asked the question about, look, you got this big April coming, and he mentioned all the big games. And his first thing he said was, don't forget Watford. That's the first one. And that's the only thing Liverpool are going to be looking towards. That's what they've done all the way through this season. I mean, yeah, they look at what games are coming up in terms of, do we need to rest this player, that player, how many minutes? But in terms of the actual preparation, they literally just concentrate on one game at a time. And that served them so well this season. They've not allowed themselves to get carried away because they know they're in a league where every game is difficult. I mean, name me an easy game in the Premier League. I mean, probably apart from Arsenal.
Yeah,
Liverpool. Yeah, I had to get that in somehow. Yeah, but no, even that, how was that an easy game? You know what I mean? So it is like Watford will not be easy. There might come a point in a game where, like against Leeds, where Liverpool end up going 2 or 3 up, and then it becomes easier. But the game itself, when it starts, Leeds trying to stay up, and that's going to be the way all the way through for the remainder of the season. Whether it's in a cup competition where you've got 2 teams who know one of them's going out, or you've got all these league games where you've got Everton and United will be desperate to beat Liverpool. Watford need to win, to improve the chance of staying up. Then you've got City as well. And remember Newcastle away a couple of years ago? What happened up there where Klopp said, "I can't believe we've come up here. They got nothing to play for." And it's like they were trying to play to win a cup final. That's every game for Liverpool now.
Yeah, definitely. Joe, what's your take on it? I mean, the squad does really seem to be into this, and I know it's the cliche of one game at a time, but the squad do seem so fixed on that. Diogo Jota asked after the game about taking on Man City in the semi-final. Oh, City, is that who we've got? Absolutely no idea about it. And you kind of hear some of the other players in recent weeks trying to work out the fixture scheduling and what games are coming after another. It does seem as though in whatever way it is, Jurgen Klopp really does just get them zoned in and focused. And it is a final in every game they're playing, like Doyle says.
Yeah, I mean, this talk that you can't talk about the quadruple or players won't think about the quadruple or whatever, I think it's just nuts, really. Let's face it. Liverpool are in the semi-finals of the FA Cup, the quarters of the Champions League with a draw that I think anyone who was looking at the draw beforehand would have wished for the draw that Liverpool got. They've already got 1 trophy in the bag, and they're a point behind in the Premier League with the momentum on this side. You can't ignore the quadruple as much as we'd even probably like to. It's right there in front of us, and the players won't ignore it, and the players are ambitious. Let's not forget, they want to win all 4. They'll back themselves to win all 4. These are some of the strongest personalities Liverpool have had in 30 years. These are players that will back themselves to go and win every game in April and put themselves right in the hunt for all these trophies. So, I do think that they've got an excellent mentality. That's something that Liverpool have recruited ever so well in the last years and made sure that the players, all do buy into that next game sort of mentality. But yeah, I mean, there'll be confidence surging through Liverpool now, and I really do believe that they will think that they can go and sweep all these trophies before them, and so they should. I put it this way: I wouldn't bet against Liverpool in any of those competitions. I just think, what we've learned, in the past several years is not to count them out. And I'm gonna say it here. I sat here at Christmas, and I remember sitting on the pod. Pretty sure with you 3 when they went 14 points behind, and just saying I don't think it's totally over, because you know what Liverpool are like, and they fought their way back into it. Because I'm going to be smug, but I did say it, and I did say it. So
did you say it out loud, or did you say it just your little mind?
I said no. I said it out loud. Go and find it. You can clip this. Go and find it. I said it. I said that it does feel like it might be over, but it's not totally over, because this team.
He's got the headphones on as well. If I dig out that clip, he will love it. He's telling us. I will.
Yeah. Please do. So yeah, I don't count this team out of anything, because they've got, I just think, the best mentality of any Liverpool team in the last 30 years. They're winners, and they'll definitely be all in for this quadruple.
But Joe, they only beat Nottingham Forest 1-0, Joe, and that means that.
Oh, I know. Yeah, so that means
what social media said. Sorry.
They went 5-0 up after 10 minutes, because teams below 10th don't count. All that's nonsense. And good teams, they find all different ways to win, don't they? They'll win some games 5-6-0. They'll win some games 1-0. I think, again, I keep looking back, and I've mentioned it a few times, with that treble season. And what I loved about that year is that you go through the team, and there's so many players that emerged with 7-8 goals that won games in different competitions, and that's what Klopp's got here. He's got this squad of players who, you wouldn't put it past Minamino to score the winner against Man City in the semi-final, because all of them have had parts to play. So, and it's been like that for years, and that's probably one of the best things you can say about Liverpool's recruitment is they don't carry anyone, do they? There's not many players in the squad that you think, well, what are they doing there, really? Everyone has had their moments, and certainly this year so far, I think that stands up.
wasn't sure if you wanted to come in there, Gorsty. You were going to.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say. I mean, I can see why. Obviously Liverpool take it one game at a time. This, that, and the other. All the cliches, and that is the reason why they, has held them in such good stead this season in every competition, and that's right, and that's what they should be doing, and they should be talking down this opportunity of an unprecedented quadruple, and that is all right and proper from Jurgen Klopp and the players, but. From our point of view as journalists and reporters, we should be exploring the possibility of it happening, and fans, people who go to the games, people who watch the games, they should be talking up every opportunity, because we're nearly into April now, and it's still a possibility for Liverpool. They've never been in this position before. The most decorated club in English football has never been in this position where they are, as of this afternoon. So why shouldn't fans be looking ahead and thinking and getting excited and plotting a little trip to Wembley there, and maybe we get past Benfica there, Bayern Munich, and it's what it's all about, isn't it? For football supporters, having that hope, having that optimism, and I've seen a tweet today which, in no uncertain terms, shut down all talk of the quadruple, and I was just thinking that is not the way it should be. Fans, as we're heading into spring and they're looking ahead to possibly winning the lot, why not? It's what it's all about. It might not happen. It probably won't, because it's never been done before, for a reason, but while it's still in play, supporters should be shouting from the rooftops, and good luck to them.
Especially after the season this comes off the back of, isn't it? I mean, sort of over the course of the weekend, obviously my team, not Liverpool, been derided for celebrating a win. I mean, last year fans were locked out of stadiums, especially Liverpool, the way in which the title defence didn't go. It's what football fandom is all about, surely, is actually celebrating these times, these moments, that actually history could be unfolding before our very eyes. Joe, you can come in.
So, yeah, I mean, I was just going to say optimism has served Liverpool well, hasn't it, in the last few years? I mean, I don't know, when you're 3-0 down to Barcelona after the first leg and you go into Anfield and your star player's got a T-shirt on saying never give up. I don't think, put this way, if Liverpool had lost that game, I'm sure there would have been loads of people on Twitter that laughed at Salah, and, that would have been a meme or whatever. But at the end of the day, optimism served Liverpool well. It's a good mindset for the club, and they've won some of the biggest games in their history from not giving up. So, I think Paul's right. Why shouldn't fans get a bit carried away and enjoy it? If they end up with the League Cup, well, we can all enjoy the ride, can't we? And that's another thing. If football sports forget, especially in this day and age, it's like if you lose a final, it's a failure. But if you get to a final, it's an occasion, isn't it? And you should enjoy it, and you should enjoy the trip down there. You should enjoy the time with your friends. I think people, even someone said to me, "Oh, would you rather Liverpool just miss out on the league by a point, or sort of start losing games now?" It's like, just miss out by a point. It might hurt, but it's far more fun till you get to that stage, isn't it? So and again, I look back on seasons like 2009 when they missed out to United and thought, look at the memories. So, I mean, this idea that you can't talk about the quadruple, don't be daft. Enjoy it. Be
Doyle, are you optimistic, Doyle?
Am I what? I don't understand the meaning. I would like to point out when Joe says something good, there's a little ding going off there. It's quite interesting. Every time he speaks, there's little ding noises going off whenever Joe says something. Yeah, very good.
What do you mean?
I don't know if it's a WhatsApp or something like that. Every so often.
Oh yeah, that's my phone.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, what? The O word? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I try hard not to be optimistic, but if you can, do you reckon I can actually keep this up? I'm not sure whether I can now. I mean, let's put it this way: if Liverpool don't win one more trophy this season, would you be disappointed? Not you, obviously, Guy, but I'm just talking generally. Liverpool fans, would you be disappointed? I think the answer is probably yeah, because they're going to they've won one trophy. They're going to finish first or second in the league. They're already in an FA Cup semi-final, and they're very strong favourites to get to a Champions League semi-final. And so that's very close to being, as Joe said, that big occasion. That they've already had one cup final. They could have another one. They could have another two. It'll be hard. I think the Champions League will be difficult if Bayern Munich are there. I mean, as I said before, Benfica is not going to be easy either. And they have to beat Manchester City at some point to win at least one of those competitions, and they'll have to beat Manchester City to win the league. So it's coming down to the big thing: are they better than Manchester City or not? So if they can get one more trophy in, that'd be a really successful season, as Joe said. I mean, to be perfectly honest, you've mentioned then about the 18-19 season. I enjoyed covering the 18-19 season more than I did the 19-20, and that's even before the way that it ended, with obviously with coronavirus and fans out, purely because it was kind of every single week you were like, they can't possibly keep this up. It's like, oh, they've done it again. They've done it again. And even though they fell short in the league, they took what Manchester City got to, what was it, 98 points they needed? Liverpool got 97, which is the most points anyone's ever got while not winning the league. And then, as Joe said, they managed to come from 3-0 down to beat Barcelona and then go on and win the Champions League. So that's proof of what can be achieved. And I think, as I said, this season, you've got to be optimistic purely because of the way that they're playing. And also, I think something that Klopp kind of hinted at, he was asked after the Arsenal game about the defensive solidity, and he came up and said, look, we have to speak about this in January. We had a meeting. We said we got to put the defence first. And I think that was on the back of, look at the 2-2s with like Brighton. I think they just drawn 2-0 with Chelsea, hadn't they? They had a 2-0 with Tottenham, although there was quite a few players missing in that particular game. They'd had, again, the 3-0 with Leicester in the League Cup, which they got through. The 3-0 with Brentford earlier in the season, 3-2 at Atletico. So there were all these games where they were kind of leaking goals. Funnily enough, the minute they've stopped doing that, 9 clean sheets in 12. What is it, 13 domestic victories in a row? And the only game that they've lost is that Inter Milan game, which, what was it, as Klopp said, Peter Krabbit said, if you're going to lose one, lose the one where you're already winning 2-0. So there's every reason to be optimistic. Although, obviously, I don't know what that word means.
Yeah, defence wins titles, attack wins matches, doesn't it? And certainly what's proving to be the case. All right, let's have a quick round on everyone. If I said to you Liverpool are going to win one more trophy this season, Gorsty, I'll let you go first. Which trophy would you say Liverpool are most likely to win at this stage?
Most likely to win? The FA Cup. You've obviously got another round to go in the Champions League. Premier League, they're still not in the driving seat. So probably the FA Cup. If you ask me what I'd like to win, I think seeing Liverpool win the Premier League with the supporters there would be memorable, wouldn't it? We were there in 2020, but as much as they made the absolute most of it, to be fair to the club. It was an unforgettable night, but just took a little bit of the shine off not having 54,000 in Anfield, didn't it? But if you'd ask me the one that the most likely to win at the moment, you'd say the FA Cup. But I agree with Doyle. I think if they don't add to the Carabao Cup from this point, it would be a huge disappointment, wouldn't it? And there is the little nagging, admittedly tiny fraction of myself in the back of my mind, which I woke up this morning thinking, imagine if Liverpool missed out on them all and Man City won them all. That would just be a crushing blow for the supporters, wouldn't it? But yeah, I think with the Champions League, they don't often play poorly enough to not do well over two legs. You look at the amount of times Liverpool don't play well, and you're probably looking at it now, it's 1 in every 30, 40 games. They've only lost twice this season in the Premier League, so I can't imagine them being really poor over two legs in the Champions League, which makes you think that they've got a really good shot of getting to that final. But yeah, as long as it's all in play, it's just great to have to be able to have the discussion, I guess.
Yeah, no. Doyle, what about yourself then? I suppose you can go with what Gorsty did there. The one you think most likely, one you'd most like to see Liverpool land.
The one I think they're most likely to win is the Champions League, probably, for the reasons that Gorsty just said, over the two legs. And then when they get them to a final, it is a 50-50 thing. I think City in the FA Cup is going to be really hard. And if they get through that, they're probably going to be playing Chelsea, who they haven't beaten over, 120 minutes for the last 4 games. So, that's not going to be easy. I think they haven't beaten City since when? The 3-1, was it? Because they've had 5-0. 5-0, 1-1, and
with caveats to those games, though, I think.
Yeah, 5-0, 1-1, 4-1, and 2-2. So yeah, so you could argue that the Jew win over City, or it could be that City just have learned how to play against Liverpool, having suffered those defeats earlier on under when it was the old Pep against Jurgen Klopp when he first moved in. So I think Champions League is the one that they've got a better chance of winning. Which one would I want them to win? well, for the exact same reason that Gorst said, sooner they won the Premier League than anything else. In fact, I go this far and say that if you mentioned to me now and said, if they lose to Benfica and Man City, but they win the Premier League, would you take it? I'd say, yeah, totally. I'd totally say, yeah, because I think that's the one that I think would mean the most for the fans. I mean, I know Joe hates the FA Cup as much as he tries to deny it. He thinks it's a complete waste of time. He doesn't like old things. But when he gets old, if he gets old, then he will suddenly realise that you shouldn't really just denigrate old things just because they're old, right? So I see him then laughing away. Go on, go on, get off me. Come on, let's say you're laughing.
I was just going to say, that's why I don't like you, because I don't like old
exactly,
things.
That's why, set it up. Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah. I think, Gorsty's older than you are, so, be nice to him as well.
Several years.
Yeah. What are your picks?
My picks, I think they'll win the Champions League, not least because, for reasons I won't go into, it's a slight inconvenience for me them winning the Champions League this season, which should be at the forefront of everyone's thoughts when they're supporting Liverpool this year, is that winning the Champions League will maybe delight me, but also inconvenience me. But yeah, I think they'll win the Champions League. It's funny because they can't avoid City or Chelsea, can they, in any of these competitions? I think, you look at, obviously, semi-final, like Doyle said, I think very difficult just because of how good City are in the league. They've got to play them. And then even if they get through the Champions League, I'd still, my money's on either City or Chelsea reaching the final from that other side of the draw. And City are so good, and Chelsea just seem to know how to play against Liverpool, don't they? I think every now and again you meet a team who's a little bit your kryptonite, and Chelsea, I think, just have the type of players that sort of expose Liverpool's high line and style of play. So, I think whichever competition that they win, they'll probably have to beat one of those two teams. But yeah, I mean, Champions League, Liverpool just have the thing, though, in the Champions League. As soon as they got this draw, I think Villarreal will beat Bayern, and I think Liverpool will get past Benfica.
That's a big shout.
Yeah, I do. I just think, again, in the Champions League, you often get teams like Ajax the other year and Villarreal have that, just the makings of a good, savvy European team. So, I don't know. I fancy Villarreal to beat Bayern, Liverpool to beat Benfica.
You're not the league holders.
Yeah, but and he's a good manager, isn't he? That Emery. They should get him in Arsenal, shouldn't they?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah,
I'm keeping out of that. I wasn't getting involved before.
I can always drag you in. Are you older than me as well?
I just look it though.
Yeah, certainly. But yeah, I like the Champions League, and that's old. Well, the European Cup. But anyway, yeah. So I think they win the Champions League. Is the short answer to your question.
Yeah, no, it'd be interesting to see how it goes. On kind of Premier League stuff that you mentioned there, Joe, never write Liverpool off. I was happy to write them off in December last week. Turned around and said I think they're favourites for the Premier League. I mean,
found that
it's going to
be. Find that clip of me?
No, I've been hosting a podcast.
It doesn't exist. The clip doesn't exist.
It does. You were there saying it's over. I loved it. Yeah, go on. Carry on.
Gorsty, in terms of the title race, before we go, in terms of that fixture scheduling and everything, obviously, Doyley referencing 2019 before, and kind of maybe unfairly looked on that the draws at Goodison and Old Trafford cost Liverpool in the end, but still Man United and Everton to come, but crucially, both at Anfield.
Yeah, I think both of those teams are going to be going hell for leather, aren't they, to try and put a dent in Liverpool's hopes. But Everton are absolutely awful. They've got the second worst away record in the entire Football League. So there's 90 teams above them who've got a better record away from home. And then you come into Anfield where Liverpool haven't lost in front of their own supporters in the Premier League for nearly 5 years. In fact, it will be 5 years in a day since Liverpool lost at home to the Crystal Palace when Everton come to Anfield on the 24th of April. So all things are pointing towards the 3 points in that particular Merseyside derby. And United, every time I watch them, they never ever play well. I honestly don't think they've played well in a manner befitting of a Manchester United team for years. And I do mean 2, 3, maybe 4 years. They never ever play well whenever I watch them. So, they are historically huge fixtures for Liverpool, but play the teams on the pitch as opposed to the club badge. And I think Liverpool will come away from that week with 6 points.
I suppose that Watford game as well, though, Doyley, just in terms of the scheduling is going to be a big one. Obviously, it's straight off the back of the international break, but it is 12:30 on the Saturday. First one's back. Obviously, won't be too long till some of the South American guys will have come back, on the Thursday morning?
And it's Roy Hodgson as well. So it's all the tails there, ready to, cause a bit of a banana skin for Liverpool. But I think I wouldn't be too worried about it being 12:30 on the Saturday. I think they're not. In fact, I don't even know what game's getting played. I mean, I know there's a couple of World Cup, playoffs. I know that Mane and Salah are involved in one, and I'm not sure whether any of the others are, because I think Scotland's been called off because they're playing Ukraine, weren't they? Yes, so Scotland's not laughing at it. Yeah, and the rest of them are just friendlies, aren't they? I don't even think are the South Americans involved in qualifiers still. I think they might still be actually, but I think the respective countries have had the sorted. I think Brazil are already through. I'm not sure. Colombia out. I think Diaz. I don't know for sure, but
World Cup qualifiers for South American games.
Yeah, are they qualifiers? Yeah. But basically, there's only going to be two. The problem was when they played Watford away, wasn't it? When they couldn't play Alisson and Fabinho because they were coming back from having played on the Thursday night. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think just the normal international break concern is, are any of these players going to get injured? And we know quite well at least one of them will. One or possibly one, possibly two. So it is one where they're just going to have to keep the fingers crossed and hope that they come back okay. But as we've said all the way through the season, they've now got such a big squad that you'd like to think that they're able to cope with it if there are one or two missing.
Yeah, no, definitely. Joe, anyone left on that Premier League fixture list that does scare you at all? I mean, I know obviously there's a trip to the Etihad, but equally it's one of those, isn't it, where the games or the destiny is in both Liverpool and City's hands equally. They win that shootout at the Etihad and get the rest of their games boxed off, then it's theirs to kind of take.
Yeah, just quickly Googling Liverpool fixtures.
Yeah, I know, that's why I made the question longer.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, in terms of 12:30 Watford, I know I see what you're getting at with a slight worry about the international break. But if I'm Liverpool at the moment, I want to go first every week. I think if they're in City's hands a little bit, then you want to go first all the time, try and win, and then put City on the back foot a bit. I mean, looking at those fixtures, they haven't been great at Southampton. I think that's a tough one. Southampton tend to be the type of team that raise their game against Liverpool and have played well at times this season, haven't they, in different games? They're a bit of a bizarre team, almost like a mid-table team that plays well on some occasions and then doesn't on other occasions. So I think that's a toughie. I think Spurs at home, I think, again, I like them under Conte. I think they've got dangerous players, and if Son and Kane are fit, they can always hurt you. Looking at the other ones, Newcastle's form, I don't know what that'll be by the time Liverpool play them. Villa's never easy, but again, expect Liverpool to go there and win. I mean, I think Liverpool got the tougher fixtures than City, but I almost think it kind of suits Liverpool in a weird way, because I think they'll raise the game for some of these fixtures. The Derby, United, Anfield's going to be roaring for those games. So, all these big occasions at Anfield, if they're going for the league, if they're still a point or so in it, Liverpool can rely on Anfield to sort of maybe roll them through some of these games, which if you're playing Norwich at home, I think, it might work the opposite way, that the fans expect the players to sort of pull them through. So, I mean, I wouldn't say there's anyone I fear. There's obviously some tricky games, but Liverpool shouldn't really fear anyone, should they?
I just checked, and the Brazil and Colombia games are played in the early hours of the Wednesday morning, so there's plenty of time for them to get back.
Right, I think when they played Watford last time around, it was on the Thursday, wasn't it? Which is the problem.
Friday morning, yeah.
I think that Bill have got a good relationship now with the Brazil FA, actually. So, I think I'm just looking at it. They're 4 points clear in the qualifying group with Argentina second. So if they win that first game, maybe there might be some cordial conversations about giving, Fabinho a bit of a rest. Who knows? But, that can only help, I guess, having a good relationship with the likes of Brazil and Senegal, who also enjoy a nice little friendship with Liverpool's staff behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think that international break ahead of Watford last time was when Matt Addison declared that he would eat bran flakes for a full 10 days, wasn't it? But any chance to mention that?
Great. Can't wait to listen to what you come up with this time.
Yeah, brilliant. Anyway, right, that's it for this edition of the Blood Red Podcast. From myself, Guy Clarke, Paul Gorst, Ian Doyle and Joe Rimmer. Thanks for your time and your company. Bye for now.